Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Oh my God, are you seeing this shit, bro? Tesla closed at $695. What the hell is going on?
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
Now with IBM getting here, I think it's just going to come more to the forefront and people are going to get more and more eyeballs on Salesforce. Should see a really nice move.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
We got D's nuts in the crew. Every crew needs D's nuts. You know what D's nuts' number one holding is? Big C.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That guy over there is Fat Man Zoom. We thought we would bring back the old fireplace for old time's sake and talk to you guys about what's been going on today and over the last couple of weeks. Fat Man Zoom, this is something that I myself and even all of my years of trading have never seen before in my entire life.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the suits. Down with the establishment, people.
Yeah.
Up with chaos. That's what we said this morning. Man, it's taken on its life of its own. This whole issue with GameStop, AMC, Nokia, all these short squeezes, and how the institutions are responding, how the brokerage are responding, and basically the backlash has been faced. So there's a lot to unpackage.
Yes.
And I think what we'll find at the end of this is that it actually is more common than we think, just hasn't entered this realm yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, there's a lot of people that are crying foul play. And I think that this is something that we've seen from larger institutions before, just not to this magnitude. And now it's like at the forefront of everybody's mind. I mean, everybody is talking about it, all the way down to people who've never even traded a stock in their entire life. They know about what's been going on with GameStop and AMC and the like. And now it's just kind of continued to blow up with a lot of the other stuff that's going on. So why don't we go ahead and just welcome some folks in first. You got your top 5 or your first 5?
Starting 5, we have Apostle. What's going on? Evan. Don Fran in the first 5.
Whoa!
You usually run a little behind, but he's early today. Frank T. Mo and Eric Brands. What's going on?
What up, guys? You know, and thanks to everybody else who's showing up. The Chaos crew is really showing out today. We got 262 kind of hanging out already, which is pretty awesome. If you guys could hit that thumbs up, we certainly would appreciate it. Get this video pushed out even more so than it is already. And let's go ahead and just start from the beginning, because if you're just watching this, if you aren't privy to stocks and kind of don't know what's going on and how we got here, I kind of wanted to take this back. So for me personally, I have actually traded GameStop years ago, and even within the last 2 years, I would say I've traded GameStop, but never really been in or out of it. And it was characteristically almost always a short squeeze play, because everybody in the trading world knew that this was heavily shorted. It was just the thing. Everybody was like, GameStop is shorted. It looks like it's getting squeezed up. Let's hop in and flip out of this thing for a nice momentum play, and we'll get out. You know, and so it's always been shorted. It's just always been down here in the $2 to $5 range, and that's where it lived. You know, fast forward to just a couple weeks ago, and it looks as if Wallstreetbets really kind of started to boil over on GameStop again, and it was kind of becoming a thing. And I was like, people would even ask me about it, and I would be like, it's one of those things where it'll go up and the rug's going to get pulled, everybody gets burned, everybody knows how GameStop works. Not this time. This time it went absolutely crazy. The short interest on GameStop was up to 140% from hedge funds and institutions. They get squeezed up. If you're not familiar with what a short squeeze is, it's essentially when you go into short something, you're selling shares directly into the market. And in order for you to make money on that, or even just cover your position or get out of your position, you have to buy those shares back at the same time that people are buying to go long on the stock. And so that's what ended up happening with this. It's almost as if the buying pressure on something like GameStop doubled in the beginning, and then it just continued to roll and catch fire until it exploded up to over $500 a share overnight. So it has just been Absolutely crazy. Well, I mean, obviously a lot of these hedge funds that have been shorting the stock got completely demolished. They over leveraged their margins on shorts on GameStop in particular. There's been a lot of big names that have already filed for bankruptcy. And then, it's been crazy, bro. I mean, there's so many people have been making money on this stock. Even Chamath came out and kind of berated a lot of people yesterday. We talked about it on this show live. Then today, something else pretty unprecedented happened, and you could no longer buy GameStop, AMC, Nokia, Costs, some of these other stocks that have gone crazy on short squeezes. You couldn't trade them on Robinhood. Then Webull fell in line with that. Yesterday it started with TD Ameritrade, and they all started to kind of follow suit. The dominoes kind of fell, if you may. And here's where we are. There's a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on the retail side that are super pissed because it's like so much for a free market. And so this is kind of where we're at right now. We got people all over Twitter, from Dave Portnoy to Chamath, even Elon Musk. We saw Elon Musk even tweeting about GameStop in general. But Dave Portnoy in particular has just been going absolutely insane on Twitter all morning because of everything that's been going on, mainly going after Robinhood and Fat Man Zoom. If there was one thing to unite the country, I didn't expect it to be a short squeeze. But if you look here on Twitter, Dave Portnoy actually retweeted that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, and Ted Cruz agree on something, that trading restrictions are unacceptable, or that were unacceptable with what Robinhood did. And it's kind of crazy to see how things have developed here up to this point.
Yeah, there's a lot to really break down. And some people are making some good comments on here. Jorge Gonzalez said they got caught making rookie mistakes that would leave us without a pot to piss in if we made the same mistake. And one of the other things, and somebody asked, are we leaving Robinhood for Webull? Bro, we've been left Robinhood. We were never even on there, we've been on the Webull train for a while. So I don't know why it took this to happen. But one of the other things I point out, I think William Williams pointed it out, is one of the key points to stand out that I think is sort of tipping their hand is that you could sell, you can't buy. Like that, right, to me is the huge sort of indicator that there's some underhandedness going on, because it's not like you said, you can't buy, you can't sell. We got to sort this thing out. Yeah. You're basically saying you could sell, which kind of like sort of makes this even more obvious and more egregious as far as it's handled. But I think where I end up is the big issue is the over leverage. Yes. And institutions flat out shouldn't be allowed to over leverage the existing float of the stock. It's just ridiculous. So it exposed a breakdown in the system and an unfair advantage. And you know what? Like you deserve to get exposed. Yeah. And so my hope is that gets really focused on, because that's really the problem, is the over leveraging. But I'll pause there because I have more to talk about, that I'm more frustrated with the overall system. And I want to talk about it, how this is exposing what I think the biggest problem that has shown time and time again when we have near market crashes or market crashes. But we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I think the over leveraging and then really just being able to sell, that's kind of BS that the brokerages would do that. You almost, how do I say this? Dave Portnoy put it very, this in a very simple way. And it's like, if you didn't convert on fourth down, and in the middle of the game, you just called up Roger Goodell to ask him to change the rules, and then he hands you 2 more downs to convert, and that's exactly what happened here. It's like they losing their ass, and then they basically cry to NASDAQ, and they cry to some of these, and Citadel was another one that was losing their ass as well. If you guys don't know what Citadel is, they're basically the market maker, and they are Robinhood's largest market maker. If you ever see them on level 2, they'll be designated as CDEL. They are engaged in high frequency trading, and that's how they make their money in between the spreads. And
Robinhood, it gets is probably their biggest client, I would imagine, and so they are essentially crying wolf, or crying foul, or playing foul, or whatever, and so they basically go to Robinhood. It's like, you got to fix this, or pay the consequences, essentially. So then Robinhood caves, and then everybody else kind of falls in line. By not allowing them to buy and only sell, it's like you're guaranteeing a win, essentially. And that's really what it came down to. And that's why we've seen so much crazy movement. I mean, it dropped 50% within about 20 minutes, it looked like.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that I think most people are aimed at the wrong target, and I think they're blaming the wrong people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you who to blame and what causes it. So, Occupy Wall Street. We have to go back to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street. Everybody went to Occupy Wall Street. They were so frustrated with the big banks and they got bailed out.
Yep.
And they were wrong. Like, the motive wasn't wrong, but who they were pointing at was wrong.
Yes.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill. They should have been targeting DC. This is the same thing. And this is what people keep missing. Don't get mad at Robinhood. Don't get mad at, these hedge funds. The problem is the way the system is set up is a different set of rules for these institutions. And the only way it stops is not by going at Robinhood.
Yeah.
They're exposing an unfair advantage. And what's ridiculous is that, like, you talk about these oversight committees and they're coming down on the Facebooks and the Apples of the world and all these antitrust issues. And the reality is this is a bigger issue than all of that. You're literally, again, you are bailing these people out.
Yep.
It's such bullshit. Like, you literally, we had the market crash where banks got bailed out. We have airlines get bailed out. We have everybody getting bailed out except for retail. And the first time, the biggest time, it worked in their favor. Boop, kibosh. And it's like,
yeah.
It's because they can do that and they can manipulate it that you shouldn't be mad at them. They're just using whatever they have in their disposal. Wallstreetbets was a tool that us retail investors had at our disposal. And time again, people have said the same thing. Listen, retail can't move the market. Institutions move the market. How many times have you heard that?
Yep.
Institutions move the market. You can't move it as retail. Well, guess what? Those of you who have been saying that, you're absolutely wrong. And Wallstreetbets just proved that. So you should be like, really, the lawmakers are the ones that need to step in. And this is time where they need to make, like, you got to allow these people to fail. You got to allow them to lose their ass. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, and to try to cover it up and say, oh, it's because we don't want people to lose money. Get the hell out of here. People have been losing their life savings in casinos left and right, and nobody's had an issue with it.
Yeah, nobody
People have been losing money all the time. Nobody has issues with bankruptcies, and nobody comes to bail us out. Right. When push comes to shove. And so this is where it's called cronyism, people. If you don't know what cronyism is, look it up. With Occupy Wall Street, they thought it was capitalism. It's not. This is not capitalism. This is cronyism, where these guys are in cahoots and the lobbyists help each other. And then when it's time to fall, rather than letting them fail and rather than letting the invisible hand work and a free market economy work, they help them out and they do them favors and they hook them up. And it's bullshit. So cronyism is a problem. It's always been the problem, and it'll continue to be the problem until somebody addresses it. I'm done.
We're cutting that clip and sharing it, people. Or if you guys want to cut it and share it, please do. We got 720 folks in here hanging out. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out, and we got comments galore. Would love to hear from you. So I saw that Don Fromm was actually talking about Citadel as well. And yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely, I agree with you. I think there's a chain of events that happened. It's like, Robinhood stopped us from trading because of this, which is Citadel. Citadel stopped Robinhood from, or basically went to Robinhood and said, hey, you got to do something because of they don't want to lose their ass, but they are able to do that because of the laws that were set in place. And the only way that actually fixes this is DC. So I will say that it looks as if we at least have their attention. We had Janet Yellen talking about it yesterday during the Fed meeting. Now we have Ted Cruz and AOC talking about it all over Twitter. If something doesn't change from this, or if we don't see any kind of like I guess, bill go through or somewhat or something along those lines for the little people. I don't know what else we got to do to get their attention, because this is something that's huge. And to your point, it wasn't just GameStop that, retail was moving. Retail was moving Nokia. Retail was moving AMC. So it wasn't just like GameStop was just this one-off that everybody piled into at the same time. There's so many of them popping off that, it just kind of dethrones the whole notion that only institutions can move the market.
Yeah, for sure. And somebody said about the transfer of wealth, and transfer of wealth has been a conversation since last year. And if you guys think that like the 1% or the richest, sort of like the upper class, if you think they're not going to go down without a fight, you're grossly mistaken. This is just an example of it. What happened was it got exposed, and it got exposed in front of everybody. What I like about this is I think what we're setting up is a unique situation that if the system's going to be fixed at any time or going to be taken down, now is the time, because we have some things that are working for us. One is, and if you go back, I think Occupy Wall Street is the best example, because I think they had an opportunity that they missed.
Yeah.
And people just jumped on board, and they weren't educated enough, and they just really ended up looking foolish. The difference is that the people in Reddit, in Wallstreetbets, so it's a subreddit. So like the people in there are, number one, they're actually really smart. They know what they're talking about. The other thing is they have a common place to congregate and get their message straight. Occupy Wall Street never had that. So now that you have this common feeding ground where people can load in, it's only going to continue to grow, and the message is going to be clear, and you could see sort of like the leaders establishing with that. And on top of that, so you have this base, and digital media has allowed for this, and we've talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
They've allowed for this opportunity for anybody can gain support. Anything can come up, right? So it's no longer big media. Big media is dying.
Yeah.
So you have that. And at the same time, you have these new influencers that are integrated in this upper class, which is the Dave Portnoys, the Chamaths, and FYI, his name is pronounced Chamath. You have those people who literally like have influence, have money, but they're also, this isn't like just speak, like they're men of the people, right? They're like you and me, they're average Joes. And they've shown at every turn that they're against the system as well. And we haven't really had representatives at the top or close to the top. I don't want to say they're 1%ers, but close to the top that have really had the back of the average Joe. And I want to throw Mark Cuban in there, because I think he gets kind of lost in, Dave Portnoy's the loudest, and he's sort of like the most brand outlandish out of all of them. Yeah. But those guys, Elon to a certain extent, but Elon's a little bit more tight-lipped. He's a little bit more subtle. But Chamath speaking out, Dave Portnoy speaking out, and Mark Cuban speaking out. And you're going to see more and more of those people that are really supporting us and saying, hey, big business needs to fail if they don't get their act right.
Yeah. And the one thing that when you started to say those names that really kind of resonated with me as you were saying them, the thing that I was thinking about was every single one of those men know what it's like to not have money. Like they came from nothing, and now they have money, and so it's almost like, well, then they know how we feel. They know what it feels like to have nothing and just kind of get rolled over by big corporations. And now they're finally got to the point and didn't forget where they came from, which is pretty awesome to see. Anthony Pompliano is another one. He put out a tweet just about a half hour ago. It says, remember today, every single one of you, never forget this bullshit. This is exactly why we can't stop. He's a huge cryptocurrency guy, and I kind of wanted to, I'll let you finish your thought, but I kind of wanted to talk to that as well. Speaking of Anthony Pompliano and crypto and kind of how that's been going off here too. But go ahead.
No, I just wanted to point out in my rant and in my blind friggin' whatever you call it, we hit 1,000 concurrents, which I didn't even realize.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We're just going on a crazy ass rant. If you guys are liking the live stream so far, make sure you're giving us a thumbs up. We certainly would appreciate it. If this is your first time visiting, we go live several times a week, put out pre-recorded videos as well for helpful tips and stocks to watch, all that good stuff. So we would appreciate it if you stuck around if this is your first time visiting. But yeah, man. So speaking of Anthony Pompliano and, his affiliation with cryptocurrency, I actually put this tweet out last night. I was like, I'm not really big into crypto. We've made that very clear, even though we try to give our opinions on it as best as we can. But this almost kind of, gives more reason for people to turn to cryptocurrency because it's manipulated sort of, but not to this degree, especially from big institutions. They don't have as much leverage on something like this as they do regular securities in the stock market. And so I almost was thinking to myself, I wonder if this just, makes an even stronger case for people who are in cryptocurrency. It just gives them another reason to, convert people over into crypto, Bitcoin, whatever it is. Dogecoin was going absolutely insane today. I see a lot of people already talking about that. So what do you think? Do you think that this just yet again makes a stronger case for crypto?
I do. You mentioned, so every morning before the market opens, you go live for our level 3 chaos crew.
Yeah.
And I meant to say something to you and I didn't, but you said something about that this morning. And I agree. I was thinking about that as well before our mentorship. And I was like, or before our live trading session. And I think so. I think, somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, and it's true, which is crypto or Bitcoin specifically, which is what people are leaning towards as far as the conversation starter, can't be manipulated like this, and it does make the argument for it. I'm not it makes me think twice about entering into it, in a good way. You know what? Should I? They're showing their hand here. Should I? But yeah, I think especially as a hedge, this is certainly going to prove to be a catalyst. There's no doubt about that. This is going to be a catalyst, and crypto's kind of been on a pullback, settling in. We've been trying to see which way it goes, but I think this is the catalyst that it needs to kind of go up to the next level and really could potentially get to all-time highs, because that's how serious this thing is. As this thing continues to play out, and as more sort of this shadiness and this cronyism ends up playing out, the more likely people are going to continue to decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to something that isn't regulated by people who are clearly trying to line their own pockets.
Yeah, and there's no halts to deal with. It trades 24/7. There's always been some of those perks that go with it, but I think it just comes back to top of mind when you start thinking about how many times GameStop's been halted, even AMC, and some of these have just been sitting there and waiting to kind of reopen, and you don't have to worry about that with any of the cryptocurrency plays either. And for somebody who comes from an over-the-counter penny stock roots, that's kind of like how this channel got started. That's really kind of how I got my start in trading. There's no, if anybody's curious, there's no, and it is the wild, wild west, kind of like how crypto is, but over-the-counter penny stocks, there's no halting or anything like that goes on down there either, but you're still dealing with securities at the end of the day. So, either way, I thought that was interesting. I just kind of kept thinking to myself about that last night, about how there's been so much control being taken over by the suits, essentially, that cryptocurrency has definitely made a much more solid case for themselves. One other thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and it relates to Wallstreetbets, that I thought was kind of crazy and wanted to get your thoughts on too, was that, it turned out that everybody was kind of up in arms briefly because Wallstreetbets went private, and I think they had some issues with spam bots or whatever. They ended up cleaning that up. But the one thing that was confirmed that actually ended up happening, Discord put out a message about this, was that Discord canceled the entire Wallstreetbets Discord. I was in it just to kind of observe and learn and see what was going on in there, and then all of a sudden it was gone. Poof. Discord comes out and says, hey, we told them many times that, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't engage in hate speech and all this other stuff. They were saying some pretty offensive and derogatory things in that chat. We warned them many times before, and today we decided to do something about it. for me, it's like, okay, I get you, Discord. Like, if that's what was going on, and there was some stuff on there that I'm just not going to repeat, which honestly, in a lot of those chat rooms, you see it all over the place anyway. And maybe it's just because, they were under the microscope at this point, and they had to do something about it. But also, and they emphatically went out to say that it had nothing to do with GameStop and, AMC or anything like that. But it's not a great look when you shut down an entire Discord during a time like this. Like, if you had plenty of other opportunities to shut down their Discord because of that, you blatantly said it yourself that you gave them several warnings about it. So then why is it the timing here? It's just not a good look, even if that's exactly what they did. But what do you think about that? And do you agree? Do you think that that's something they should have at least just thought about a little bit before engaging in that? Or do you think that they should have, the timing was fine or whatever?
Yeah, I think they're lying. I think absolutely they shut it down because I think there's somebody with money that told them to shut it down. I mean, that's how these things work. Like, these deals are made behind closed doors, and this happens all the time, people.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it happens all the time. We just never hear about it. And so they could say whatever they want to say, but it's just not true.
Yeah.
Because you have examples of this has been going on too. So I think that, number one, that was dumb because you could have, I don't know, maybe like when they say that there's no such thing as bad publicity, and maybe that's, that's true here. But like, again, that's going to blow up your Discord. Like, it's going to blow it up. Right. And as far as people saying hate speech, whatever, like, that's a whole nother issue. You don't shut down overwhelmingly that there's not that. So you don't shut it down. You just get rid of those people, cancel those accounts. You don't cancel that stream. So there's no doubt in my mind that was just a cover, and that's an absolute lie. It's not true. You're not going to convince me otherwise, because we've seen it happen all the time. Unfortunately, we just never catch it. And it's never, like you said, it's never so obvious. And to be clear, I want to back up because, I don't want to. Actually, I don't care if I sound like a conspiracy theorist. But here's the other thing I want people to realize. Like, the institutions, the people in power, whether you look at politics, whatever you look at, politics, business, they have never had our best interest in mind. I don't know why there was this belief in that. It's like the system has been structured that has never had our best interest in mind, and they've done things to try to make us think that. But like, I'll give you two examples. One is back in 2008 when we've been talking about the $8,000 stimulus. The $8,000 homeowners credit, and that was back after the housing crisis.
Yeah.
We got $8,000 if you're a first-time home buyer towards a down payment.
Correct.
Let's be clear, that wasn't for you. Yes, they wanted you to buy, but that was to put money back into the market, to get the housing market back up, to get money back into banks.
Yeah.
Right? And like, anything that they do that looks like, oh, we're helping the average person, I'm sorry, they're not. It just boils down to lobbyists, and they decide which way these things go. It sucks. It's a shitty part of the game. And I don't know, how do you fix it with people that are part of the problem, right? They're just going to only do so much. So this is just, I mean, time and time again, these things happen. And if you go and you look at just look at your life and what you've experienced,
right?
It was like pulling teeth to get people more than $600.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right.
So the system only works if the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. That's the reality of it. Statistically, you're likely to kind of stay at the same level. And as you were born into, it's very rare that you get out of it. And hopefully we're moving towards breaking that down, because truly, I never have said this before, like, it's certainly not on live stream, but this is the most un-American thing right now.
Yeah.
Not letting businesses fail, not letting retail people get rich. Listen, I'm not in GameStop. I'm not in AMC. I'm in none of these. I won't be in any of these. But my fellow retail traders, if you're making bank, make bank.
Yeah.
And like you said, people have been losing their ass on penny stocks for how long, and nobody's batted an eye.
Right.
So.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, speaking of un-American, I mean, the GameStop saga in general. You know, when you're over leveraging a stock with shorts, it's a brick and mortar company, and you're just crushing them in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, you can't get more un-American than that as well. Which is why, like, it's such a glorious thing to see. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's no longer about how you're about people making money. It's just like sticking it to the man. I think is more impactful to people who have been trading this thing than anything else. Right now, though, I think it is looking rather grim. I don't know what'll end up happening after today, but I will say that GameStop had a highs of $482.85, was over $500 a share pre-market. Now sits at $231, is down 33% on the day. So, and some of the other ones were fading pretty fast. Much quicker than that. AMC is down 55%, down to $8.92 a share. And I think these are just going to continue to get beaten down. Unfortunately, the man is going to probably inevitably win this one. But I do think that it's awesome to at least see that, at least expose this to everybody to a point to where I hope that something actually gets done about it to some degree. I know it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be fixed, but it's nice to see that, like, at least they're getting exposed for what they really are.
Yeah, and I'm also glad that Dave Portnoy has been tweeting about people going to jail, because it sounds crazy, but that's what needs to happen. In order for this stuff to change, people need to sort of face some repercussions. And in the grand scheme of things, what I don't understand, and this is the old guard, and I'm hoping with new business, like with new business coming through, that they could sort of have a different perspective. Competition is good. Yeah. And letting people fail is good, because a lot of times when you're down to your last cent or your last dollar, you find a way to figure it out, and you find a way to pull through. And what business or what the politicians and government is doing is they're not allowing that process to take place. We need competition. We need the better thing to overcome it, right? Yeah. Boeing, listen, you're old. Like, if something better is out there, let it be out there. Yeah. It's going to prove efficiencies, and it's going to make us better as a whole for it. You know, I don't talk about my business much, but my company was literally when it was focused on hospitality. When this whole pandemic happened, I lost all my customers like that, except for one, right? Yep. And they weren't in hospitality. And so, nobody was, I remember sitting, and I remember like literally being depressed, being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to go back into the real world. I'm going to have to go back to a 9-to-5. And I was feeling sorry for myself. And then I was just like, you know what? I'll feel sorry for myself for a day. And then I decided I have enough savings to last me through the end of the year. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to just work my ass off till the end of the year. And then when I pick my head up, if I'll deal with it. If I have to go to 9-to-5, I will. If not, whatever. And you know what, man, you already know this story. My business is better for it. I have better clients. I have better quality of life. I have this. This wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that. Right. So the fact that nobody bailed me out and I was underwater and I was losing money, I had to figure that out for myself. And now it ends up that I look back and I'm like, damn, that might be the best thing that ever happened to my business.
Well, it's one of the best things that ever happened to this channel too. I'll say that. So it's been pretty awesome. It's been a pretty awesome ride, but yeah, it forces you into a corner and then you have to make a decision, Yeah. And it can either make or break you, I guess. Fortunately it ended up going the other way for you and for us and for the channel and for WeTrade HQ, all of our community. You guys wouldn't be here without all that going on. So,
but nobody would have helped. That's my point, is like, the government wouldn't have helped me. Right. I would have been screwed. I would have just had to figure it out, whether it's claiming bankruptcy, all those things. Nobody would have cared about me. So I think the same should apply, if not more, for businesses. Let them fail. Right. And the thing is, they can go to investors, they can go to whoever, they can have people. And if you have a sound plan, people will invest. Right. If you don't, your business is done. Figure something else out. I think something better. I think what we're missing out on is opportunity cost. Yeah. Right. Like, what could we have if we didn't have this? And my opinion is, if we actually let things fail, better things would replace it. And I think that's what Chamath, I think what he implies, he hasn't outright said it, but I think he implies that is like, let these fail. And what can we replace it with? Because the old way of doing business isn't the best way. That's clear for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one big case in point is, essentially the rise of Tesla. You have this inevitable force that's coming through into the automotive world, and that people basically kind of laughed at. And it was like, well, if you're not going to do anything about non-renewable energy, i.e. oil, then we're going to do something about it. And Elon sells PayPal and starts Tesla, and here we are in an era in which the big three were impenetrable as far as a market's concerned. And he basically just made it happen. And a lot of that was because of the people. And Chamath brought this up yesterday, that the institutions and big money, they were all wrong about Tesla. And the only people that were right were people like us, the retail investors, that were actually correct about it and actually moved that market. It wasn't anybody else as far as big money is concerned. So time and again, the little guy does prove that he can actually make an impact. He or she can make an impact. So I think that one thing that I hope that a lot of you guys take away from this is that, if you don't think that you're significant or that you can make an impact, you absolutely can. And we can all do it together for sure.
Yeah. And so let's transition into, all right, so what do we do about these stocks? GameStop, AMC, if you're in them, if you're thinking about getting in them, here's what I'll say about it. And then I'd like your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing I'll say is don't take the bait, which is, again, these brokers are saying you can only sell. We're doing you a favor, right?
Bullshit.
Like
bullshit.
They didn't have your interest in mind the first time. What makes you think they have your best interest in mind now?
Right.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell it. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is if the reason you're selling is because they're letting you, they're only giving you one option, I would be a bit skeptical. And I'm a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
These plays I have no issue with. I don't think this story is done from the run up, from the move. This is strictly a momentum play. These are not good companies short term. I went through the earnings for GameStop, their last earnings, and they do have some things to be bullish on, but not at these price levels.
Right.
All right. So fundamentally, they're not a buy. Short term, technically, you can make the argument that they're a buy. I think this is YOLO money. If you are fine with losing money, if I had $500, $1,500, $10,000, whatever the amount is, if I'm okay with losing it all, I'm fine with the bet.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with that bet. And so I think this is actually a pretty good risk reward ratio to get into one of these if you can. So that's what I would say. Definitely don't, bet the farm on this. I think that there's other opportunities outside of it, i.e. Bitcoin or companies that invest in Bitcoin. But if you really just want to get in AMC or GameStop, I still think it's going to be GameStop because GameStop is leading the charge and leading the headlines.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to have the biggest swings. But like we always say, exit strategy, people. If you're going to get into this, have an exit strategy, have a number where you're happy with it, where you're at least taking your initial investment out.
Yep.
And if you want to let the rest run, let the rest run. But listen, if it gets to 500, you're like, boom, I'm selling out of my initial investment and then I'm letting the rest go. Cool. But you got to have your exit strategy. This is a perfect example of it because you don't have time to think in the moment.
Yep.
You just got to know here, okay, time to pull the trigger. Let's go.
Yeah, your exit strategy, even if it doesn't go in your favor, too. I think a lot of people just hold on to bags and hold on to the red without ever having an exit plan if it doesn't go your way either. So we talk about that all of the time, and this is definitely, and I've said this from the start that this was YOLO money, and sometimes YOLO money can make you money, and in this situation, it absolutely did. But yeah, no, and with all of them too, and really with all these speculative plays, we talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter if it's GameStop, AMC, or we've talked about Workhorse in this fashion as well. Some of these ones that are just super speculative, you're going to trade it with money that you know that you can afford to lose, and that you can afford to take risk on. So as long as you guys have that mentality, and then you're not giving yourself too high of an expectation when you do make this kind of trade, I think that you'll be fine. It really all comes down to the kind of mindset that you have going into this, and having realistic expectations from it as well.
Yeah, and some people are saying I'm not. I'm riding this to zero. If that's your strategy, that's fine as well. As long as you consciously say
you're okay with it.
Yeah. I'm willing to lose this money, and if it goes to zero, cool. If it goes to 1,000, cool.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of people that haven't. I know for a fact there's a lot of people, and people I know, that have just jumped in and haven't thought about what's their upside exit and what's their downside exit.
Yeah.
And that's where most people fall off, and that's where you end up holding the bag and getting yourself in trouble. So, Ronan says, hold Jimmy, put your life savings into it.
Just bet the house, man.
No, but, somebody asked about Nokia. Yeah, we're still bullish on that. Brad, shout out to you, man. You called AMC. You made a video on Sunday calling out AMC.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, guys, we've had multiple call outs, maybe not like GameStop crazy moves, but
AMC went up 600% since called.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested, we do have a free daily watch list. So if you guys want more of these call outs, more of these stocks, go to ownthechaos.com. Link is in the description. Click on get a free watch list. There's a button right at the top. We send out 5 stocks we're watching each day the market's open, right before it opens. So definitely check it out. Get your free watch list. Doesn't cost any money, people.
Yeah, or hit the join button next to subscribe. It's also $4.99 to join the Chaos Crew. You guys can see some folks with red bears and green bulls next to their names. If you guys want our watch list plus live streams, we're actually not done talking about this. We are done talking about this live, though. We're going in about an hour at 3:30 p.m. We go live with our Chaos Crew folks, and we can talk about this even more. If you guys want to be a part of that, you can hit the join button next to subscribe. You also get access to our portfolios, which, by the way, since the first of the year, we are up over 20% on the Weeble portfolio that we give out to our members. It's up over 100% since inception in September. We just started in September of last year, and it's up over 100%. So really good stuff there. If you guys want access to that, hit that join button next to subscribe. The link is also in the description as well. We'd love to have you guys as part of the crew. Fat Man Zoom, any last words?
I just want people to look out. I know we're giving you a lot of call to actions, but we got an exciting video coming out tomorrow, which is top 5 stocks to buy the effing dip on. So pretty excited about that. The crew voted on it.
Yeah.
So we have 5 stocks to buy the effing dip. Look out for that. That's going to be a cool video. So I just we just made it, so I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. So thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. On your way out, if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up, we certainly would appreciate it so people can come back and watch this later and it gets pushed out. We certainly would love that. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure you're hitting that as well. That's going to do it for us. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We will catch you next time. Peace.
In your mouth we trust. Free Jack Ma. Bye.
Bye.